Welcome. You're listening to The Deep Dive, where we take, a whole stack of information, sift through it, and really distill it down to the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight for you.
That's the goal.
Today, we're plunging into the fascinating, sometimes pretty surprising world of New York City politics. Our focus is squarely on the incredibly dynamic 2025 mayoral elections Democratic primary. It's actually primary day today, June 24th.
That's right.
But as we'll soon discover, the real story of who actually wins might just be beginning long after the polls close tonight.
Absolutely. Our mission today is really to help you cut through all the political noise, understand the key players, the ones vying for City Hall, and grasp the surprising mechanics of this election.
Yeah.
So you walk away truly well-informed, kind of ready to understand the headlines you're definitely going to be seeing in the coming days.
Yeah, and we've got some compelling sources that shed light on the frontrunners and, crucially, this unique voting system that's in play.
It's a big part of the story.
So, okay, who are the key players in this high-stakes political drama? And what makes this primary just so fascinatingly complex?
Well, you've got this seasoned political figure trying for a pretty remarkable comeback, pitted against a surging progressive challenger, and it's all happening under New York City's, distinctive ranked choice voting system.
It really is a political chess match, isn't it?
Yeah.
But one where the rules themselves are like part of the strategy.
Exactly.
Okay, let's start with a name that's probably most familiar to many of you listening, Andrew Cuomo. He's 67.
Right.
A former New York governor, served from 2011 to 2021, and of course he's the son of former Governor Mario Cuomo. Big name. Huge
name recognition. He formally re-entered the political scene, declared his mayoral run back on March 1st, 2025.
Yeah, marking his reemergence after, 4 years out of that intense political spotlight.
Right. And the initial polls, they consistently showed him leading the pack. Well, and what's particularly illuminating from, the information we looked at is that while that name recognition and his political history give him a sort of undeniable edge,
Sure.
he also carries pretty significant personal baggage from his time as governor. Remember the allegations. Sexual harassment from 11 women.
Right, which he denied, but he did admit to being, quote, too familiar.
Exactly. And then there's the whole controversy around his administration's handling of COVID-19 nursing home deaths.
That was huge.
Yeah, a U.S. House subcommittee found evidence suggesting his involvement in a report that allegedly lowballed nursing home fatalities.
And that's not over, is it?
Nope. As of May 2025, the Department of Justice actually has an open investigation into his testimony on that specific matter.
Wow. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much does that history weigh on a comeback bid like his?
It's a major question.
And beyond the headlines, our sources show these controversies haven't just been, political headaches. They've actually cost New York taxpayers an astonishing estimated $61 million in legal and investigation costs by March 2025.
61 million. That's a staggering number.
It's a hidden financial toll, right? It could be a silent factor shaping how voters feel, regardless of his actual policy ideas.
Precisely. But despite these challenges, Cuomo boasts a really formidable campaign war chest. He's got a robust $20 million super PAC backing him.
Okay, and remind us, a super PAC is?
Right, so it's a type of political action committee. They can raise and spend basically unlimited amounts of money to influence elections. Often it's without direct coordination with the candidate's own campaign team.
Got it, so big money.
Big money. And a significant recent contribution to his super PAC was, get this, $5 million from former Mayor Mike Bloomberg.
Wow. Okay, so he clearly has the resources to make a powerful push.
No question about that.
But challenging this established figure is a story of truly remarkable grassroots momentum. Let's shift our focus now to his closest rival, Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
He's 33 years old, Ugandan-born, currently a member of the New York State Assembly. He identifies as a democratic socialist. And his rise has been, frankly, astounding. He went from just 1% support back in January to a surging 32% in that final Emerson College poll, which was done just days before today's election.
It's incredible, but it isn't just a bump. It's like a significant wave.
Totally.
And his momentum, as the sources really highlight, it seems largely fueled by a fresh approach and genuinely impressive grassroots support. It's sort of redefining how campaigns can connect with voters these days.
How so?
Well, Mamdani has masterfully used digital media, specifically incredibly engaging TikTok videos. They've drawn in this massive wave of small dollar donors.
The small dollar donors. That's key.
It really is. And he's also mobilized this dedicated volunteer army, they call it, about 20,000, mostly younger volunteers.
20,000 volunteers.
Yeah. And what's particularly striking is that he actually outpaced Cuomo in direct campaign funds raised.
Really? Outpaced Cuomo.
Yes. And he was the first candidate to hit the legal spending cap, thanks to New York City's matching funds program.
Okay, let's break that down. A matching funds program, for our listeners, essentially it amplifies those small dollar donations,
right,
giving grassroots campaigns a big financial boost.
Exactly. It rewards broad community support rather than just relying on a few big checks from wealthy donors. It's a crucial distinction in how these campaigns are funded.
Totally different model. So what about his policy vision for the city? What's he proposing?
Well, his progressive platform really centers on affordability, which is, such a pressing issue for so many New Yorkers right now.
Definitely.
He's proposing things like rent freezes for tenants and rent-stabilized apartments, a big expansion of free childcare, and even making public buses entirely free.
Wow, free buses. How would he fund all that?
Good question. He's suggested pretty significant tax hikes on the city's wealthiest residents and also on large corporations. A 2% hike on millionaires, 4.5% on corporations.
Okay.
And beyond the economics, he's also a strong advocate for expanding and protecting gender-affirming care citywide. He wants to invest $65 million for public providers and establish NYC as an LGBTQ plus sanctuary city, complete with a dedicated office of LGBTQIA plus affairs.
So a very clear progressive agenda.
Very clear.
And his status as, the candidate of the left seems pretty solidified by endorsements from some really influential progressive figures, like New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
AOC, yeah.
And former presidential candidate Bernie Sanders.
That definitely highlights the clear ideological contrast in this race, no question. And it's certainly brought a lot of public enthusiasm, around his vision for the city.
Okay, so we have this clear ideological battle shaping up. But how does this chess match actually play out under New York's, unique rule?
Yes, the rules.
This brings us right to the game changer in this election. New York City's ranked choice voting system, RCV. It's definitely not your traditional pick one ballot.
You've absolutely hit on a key point there. If we connect this to the bigger picture, RCV lets voters rank up to 5 candidates. 5. In order of preference.
Okay.
Now, on the first round, only those first choice votes get tallied. Simple enough.
Right.
But the real electoral drama, it unfolds if no candidate hits that 50% mark on the first ballot.
Which seems likely in a crowded field.
Very likely. And that's when the system truly reshapes the race. The candidate with the fewest votes gets eliminated.
Right.
And then their supporters' second choices suddenly become pivotal. Those votes get redistributed, often shifting the entire landscape of the competition.
So your second choice really matters.
Immensely. This process keeps going round after round, eliminating the lowest candidate and redistributing votes until one candidate finally crosses that 50% threshold.
It really transforms the strategy, doesn't it? It's not just about getting the most first place votes.
Absolutely not. And the sources confirm this system was adopted by an overwhelming margin back in a 2019 referendum.
Right.
Proponents argued, it lets voters support maybe lesser-known candidates without feeling like their vote is just wasted.
The spoiler effect.
Exactly. It combats that spoiler effect, where maybe a third-party candidate pulls votes from a closer contender and inadvertently changes the outcome. But I think the true strategic genius of RCV isn't just about eliminating spoilers. It actually forces candidates to appeal beyond their core base.
Because you need those second and third place votes.
Precisely. It transforms those second and third place votes into this incredibly powerful currency. It makes things like cross endorsements and having broader appeal absolutely essential for actually winning.
Which makes polling super tricky.
Right.
And we see these conflicting results, which just adds to the suspense.
Oh, definitely.
That final Emerson College poll, taken just days ago, they actually simulated RCV, and they found Mamdani favored to beat Cuomo, 52% to 48%. But then, Marist University's final poll, taken just a week before that, projected Cuomo winning the RCV count, 55% to 45%.
That's a pretty significant difference in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So why? Why the discrepancy?
That's the big question, isn't it? It could be down to just the slight time difference in when the polls were conducted. Momentum shift, maybe?
Possibly.
Or perhaps it's about the uncertain composition of the electorate, like who actually shows up? How do in-person voters break? compared to early voters.
Right.
And RCV is still relatively new here in New York City. It's only been used once before in the 2021 mayoral primary.
Where Eric Adams won.
Exactly. Where current mayor Eric Adams eventually won, but it took 8 complex rounds of tabulation, and the final results weren't called for 2 weeks after the election.
2 weeks. Wow.
Yeah. And what's also fascinating is looking at the breakdown of support among black voters. Marist showed Cuomo with this huge 52-point lead.
Okay.
But Emerson indicated Mamdani making some really impressive late gains, possibly winning 38% of those votes in the final RCV round. That's a big swing.
Definitely something to watch. And the progressive candidates, they seem keenly aware of RCV's power. They've actively campaigned on using it.
Oh, absolutely.
This includes Mamdani, but also Comptroller Brad Lander and Michael Blake. Our sources highlight their very deliberate strategy. Mm-hmm. They've cross-endorsed each other. They're encouraging their supporters to rank them highly, 1, 2, 3. And notably, not to rank Cuomo at all.
A clear strategic move.
Right. So, for example, the data suggests once Lander's potentially eliminated in the RCV rounds, his supporters tend to break more toward Mamdani.
Consolidating that progressive vote.
Exactly. It's a clear, calculated strategy to pool their support and potentially upset the frontrunner. It's a significant advantage, potentially, for a candidate like Zohran Mamdani.
It really showcases that intricate dance of alliances that RCV practically demands.
Okay, so practicalities. For any New York City residents listening right now, again, today, June 24th, is primary day, Democratic and Republican nominations.
Get out and vote if you haven't.
Yes. Early voting already happened, June 14th to June 22nd. So if you haven't voted yet, today is the day.
And remember, to cast a ballot in these primaries, you must be registered with a political party. That's key.
Right, and it's not just the mayor's race on the ballot. You'll also be voting for nominees for city controller, public advocate, borough presidents, and your local city council members, too.
Lots to decide. And here's another crucial point just for understanding this whole deep dive. Don't expect a winner to be declared tonight.
Right. Patience needed.
Definitely. While those first choice votes will be reported later tonight, giving us an initial snapshot, the official ranked choice tabulations won't actually happen until next Tuesday, July 1st.
July 1st.
Yeah, that delay allows time for all the mail-in ballots, as long as they're postmarked by today, primary day, to be received and counted.
And what if it's really close?
Well, if the race is exceptionally close, then provisional ballots could further extend the final count, potentially for, weeks even. So patience is definitely key here.
Okay. Now, what's particularly unique about New York election law, and it's highly relevant here, is that even if a candidate loses their party's primary, they can still run in the general election in November. How does that work?
Yeah, it's this unique aspect of New York's fusion voting laws. It basically means that even if you lose your party's primary nomination, you can still appear on the general election ballot just under a different party line that you've either created or secured.
Like your own personal party line.
Essentially, yeah. And this is something Andrew Cuomo has already done. He created his Fight and Deliver party, which pretty clearly indicates his intention to run on that line in November, regardless of what happens in today's Democratic primary.
So, win or lose today, he could still be on the ballot.
That seems to be the plan. And Mamdani will likely have a similar option with the Working Families Party.
Right, the WFP.
Yeah, they've already encouraged voters to back him in the Democratic primary, and they've been very open about their strong opposition to Cuomo.
Okay, so this sets up a potentially really complex scenario for the November 4th general election then.
Extremely complex, because you've also got the current mayor, Eric Adams, running as an independent candidate.
Right, he opted out of the primary.
He did, yeah, after those bribery charges against him were later dismissed. So he'll be on the ballot. He'll be joined by the Republican nominee, Curtis Sliwa,
Familiar name.
and other independent contenders like Jim Walden. It's going to be a very crowded field, potentially with multiple viable candidates, even after we finally know the primary results.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the well-informed citizen, as we kind of digest all these fascinating layers?
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
Well, the 2025 New York City mayoral primary is just this captivating blend of political experience meeting, surging grassroots energy, all orchestrated through this highly strategic voting system. It's a race where established leads can genuinely be overturned by this nuanced voting process, and where losing the primary doesn't necessarily mean the end of your campaign.
Not at all.
It really seems like in New York politics, even primary day is just like the opening act for a much longer political drama.
That's a great way to put it. And it raises this important question, I think, for the future of urban politics more broadly. How will New York City's unique electoral landscape, with its ranked choice voting and these fusion laws, how will it continue to reshape not just who holds power, but maybe even how candidates campaign, how they build alliances, and how they truly connect with voters in the years to come? What sort of strategic adaptations are we going to see next?
That is a fascinating question to ponder.
Oh.
Indeed. Well, we certainly hope this deep dive has given you a clear, informed perspective on this pivotal election and just a sense of the complex forces at play.
Hope it helped cut through some noise.
Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive as we explored the fascinating layers of New York City's political landscape.